The Leominster City Council meeting is funded in part by DeCarolis Insurance Agency at www.decarolisinsuranceagency.com and by Avidia Bank at www.avidiabank.com.
Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requested an appropriation of $5,000 be made to the library's operating account. Same amount to be transferred from the library state aid to public library account. This transfer will allow the library to continue to provide a wide array of events and programs for Leominster residents. So this is not part of any kind of a requirement. This is something they are doing this year. This is the first year they're going to do this above and beyond. To take additional money out of this account, to provide all kinds of events and programs that have been going on, such as there's been, more concerts that have been went on over there, and I think they have magicians and all things like that for the kids. So, good programs and good stuff that I think all of it is free to the public, and it's a good thing to do. You don't have to break the bank, and you can keep busy with events that interest those people. So it would be my recommendation that we grant C-84. Councilor Cormier?
I agree.
Councilor Tossi?
I agree.
Okay. Moving on to C-85, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that an appropriation of $15,000 be made to the library's operating account, the same amount to be transferred from the library state aid to public libraries account. So this money is coming out of the library state aid public libraries account. I should have mentioned on C-83, that's coming out of the personnel budget. And the reason why it's coming out of the personnel budget is because they had somebody leave. They didn't fill the position. Actually, I think the person started yesterday. So that position's been filled. But when there was a gap, they had a savings. So some of that savings is going to the library, to the material to fulfill our requirement. And then they're taking this other $15,000 from here, kind of piecemealing it to add up to the 40 grand so that we meet our requirement. That's why we have we're piecemealing this with these different communications. It'd be my recommendation that we grant C-85, and I'll ask Councilor Cormier.
I agree.
Councilor Tossi?
I agree.
Okay, so the recommendation will be to grant C-85. C-86, I'm sorry, there is no C-86. 49-25, Gregory C. Chapdelaine, Purchasing Agent, and Jennifer Reddington, Comptroller, request to allow the purchasing agent to award a contract for a 6-year period for an energy consulting firm, provide advisory services for the city for negotiation of energy contracts, advisory services on what energy savings the city should undertake, and all the other issues dealing with energy supply services in the private market. There is a not an extremely lengthy letter, but I will read it next Tuesday night. I will not bore anyone with it now, but basically they're asking for this 6-year period because they've kind of dabbled in it. They did explain that the city has employed 2 different energy consulting firms via bidding over the last 8 years. We're confident enough with how this industry works and who the players are that we can now successfully lock in a firm for a long-term contract, which will, 1, hopefully receive better pricing, and 2, stabilize and strengthen the city's presence in the energy market by having the same advisory firm working on behalf of for a longer period of time. So they did gain some experience on how this all works, and they're more confident now, and this longer length of time on this 6-year term would potentially save them money. And I know we've done many of these in the past for many different services that we offer, And it would be my recommendation that we would grant 49-25, and I'll check with Councilor Cormier.
I agree.
Councilor Tossi?
I agree also.
Okay, so it looks like we have a unanimous recommendation to grant that one. Now, I did say at the beginning of the subcommittee meeting that I would let other councilors, if they have any other questions on any of these communications on this agenda, to ask them now. Are there any questions?
No questions. I just wanted to say I too am really excited about C-75.
Yeah,
That's
that's
something everybody can feel really good about.
absolutely much needed, especially as ward councilors, absolutely. Any other questions at all about any of these items? We're all good? All right, I guess this particular finance subcommittee meeting now, I'll make a motion, ask for a motion to adjourn. Councilor Cormier, Councilor Tossi, all those in favor? Okay, this finance subcommittee meeting is now adjourned, and our next one starts at right now. Perfect timing. So I'm now going to call to order the Finance Committee meeting for May 20th, 2025. This is regarding the fiscal year 2026 budget hearings. So we have 4 different departments that are on the agenda for tonight. With me, I'm the Chair of Finance, David Cormier. With me is the Clerk, Pauline Cormier, and the third member, Robert Tossi. I'm going to read the notice of Committee of the Whole meeting. This notice of a City Council Committee of the Whole meeting is posted in the event that a quorum of City Councilors is present at the Standing Committee meeting. If less than a quorum of the City Council is present, no Committee of the Whole meeting shall take place. If a quorum is present, any such meeting shall be restricted to the Standing Committee agenda items listed above. So just so that the public knows, we're going to start at right now, scheduled at 5:45 p.m. for the library. So Alex Lent and anybody else that's with you, if you want to start to make your way in. And then either immediately following the library or at 6 o'clock, could be later but not earlier, we will do fire. Same thing with DPW at 6:15, and then police at 6:30. Thank you very much for being here, Mr. Lent. And the person that's with you is?
Nicole Butler.
Nicole Butler, Assistant Director. Thank you very much, both of you, for being here. I will tell you that with all of the patrons that shuffle through the library every year, and I'm sure, I don't know if you have numbers, maybe 20-something thousand?
A year?
Yeah,
We see about
which is
160,000 visitors a year.
160 a year.
A lot of repeats.
A lot of repeats. Okay, I thought it was like 20-something thousand. Wow, 100-something thousand, okay. A lot of repeats. I never hear any complaints, ever. So kudos to you.
Thank you
That's
very much.
probably one of the most publicly used buildings in the city, and I've never heard any complaints. So do you have anything to present, or do you want me to just start talking about some things? It's entirely up to you. If you have a presentation, go
Sure,
ahead.
yeah, I was going to go through the
Perfect.
major changes.
Go right ahead. You can start out.
So since I have a captive audience, I wanted to also take a minute to tell you that things are going well at the library. This is our busiest year of the past half decade. Circulation, visits to the library, program attendance, reference questions were all up in FY24 over 23 and are projected to be up again in FY25 over 24. So this is great news. We're also heading toward the 20th anniversary of our building project. We have a brand new roof that we really like. We have some projects that we expect to go out to bid in the coming months, including replacement of some of our carpets, but this will be paid out of the library's building trust at no cost to taxpayers, which we're pretty proud of. Overall, our building is in excellent shape, and people are always surprised that it's been nearly 20 years. We have a motivated, talented, and hardworking staff dedicated to helping residents pursue their interests, whatever those interests may be. We have a very supportive board of trustees and a terrific community, most of whom are library users. And we got a suggestion recently that I wanted to share with you, which reads, "Don't change a thing, your library is perfect."
Nice.
This will be framed up in the library pretty soon. So, on to the good stuff, the budget. So the proposed budget totals just shy of $2 million, which is an increase of about $135,000 over fiscal year 2025. This is a 7% increase. Almost all of the increase, 95%, is going to our personnel budget for planned step increases and the city's recently approved cost of living adjustment. The remaining 5%, about $7,500, is going to our operating budget. It's split pretty evenly between our program support line, the line that funds our events, and some of them were talked about earlier, which I appreciate, and then to our books line, which pays not only for books, but also movies, music, toys, tools, games, musical instruments, databases, and everything else we circulate. Our events and our collections are the most tangible way that we interact with the public, so it's important to keep up with rising costs and rising demand. We also supplement both lines with state aid funds, as you discussed earlier. Just as exciting is we've zeroed out our postage machine rental line. We're now using the City Hall's postage machine to save a little bit of money. And karmically, our telephone line is going up by about $1,000. So it's coming out even, but it's a great accomplishment anyway. They didn't make it easy to cancel that, so we're excited that it's done. You'll also see $9,000 removed from the audiovisual line and added to our contract services line. This actually happened at the beginning of FY25. There's just a clerical error that it looks like it is just happening now. We still spend plenty of money on audiovisual, but we spend it all out of the books line. That $9,000, we just adopted the contract services line so that all of our contracts were in one line. It makes the budget a little bit easier for us to use year to year. So contracts include things like Microsoft Office, deep freeze, copier leases, things like that. So that's really our budget. We try to keep things as simple as possible. We're proud that our operating budget increase is only 1.5% over FY24, and we're very grateful for the increases to our personnel line. At this point, I'm happy to take any questions if you have them, but thank you for having us.
Well, you've answered all my questions. I was
Excellent.
going to ask you about, not that it was a big deal, about the postage thing going on here that I
can
noticed.
go on and on about it. I'm pretty excited about it.
And no, I'm good. And the contract services, which
Yeah.
you've touched upon. So, and again, and you mentioned most of your increases, we all know, we just approved the schedule to go into the ordinance book that, we come to agreements with everyone, to all the unions and non-union and whatnot for increases. So we totally understand that. We approved it. And everything just looks, you're going to operate, a good, you're going to keep going as you've been, pretty much.
That's the goal.
Right? You're maintaining everything you've had, all the hours and
Yep.
staffing.
7 days a week.
Yep, okay. And not that I want to infuse myself into the private fund over there, but I know I'm gonna. I know you're gonna take some money out for carpeting, but those are private donations, right?
They are, yes. So they date back to when the building was being renovated.
Right.
So they were donations for the furnishing of the library. And we didn't have to use it all at the beginning or when the library was built, so we've been holding on to it and accruing interest.
Okay, good.
So the board of trustees voted to use that for our carpet project.
Do you know how much is in there?
In the trust as a whole, I
Yeah.
believe it's about $550,000.
So it's a pretty good
It's a pretty
little
good
chunk
chunk.
of money, which is good, which is really good.
It
Yeah.
is.
That's
And we have
good.
an roughly equal amount in state aid as well. So we're in a good position right now, and so we are.
Is there anything else on the horizon to come out of there that you're going to need? Just out
Not
of
that I'm
curiosity?
aware of. We're eagerly anticipating using more of it for our collections and events and things like that for our outreach efforts with our library van. But it's also kind of a rainy day fund in case something unexpected happens.
Okay.
Hopefully the roof will be good for
Yeah, hopefully.
maybe until I retire.
Yeah. Never have to deal with
It's a
that
race.
headache, right? I am certainly good. I'll go with to check with members of finance and then other members of the council. Councilor Cormier, do you have any questions, comments?
I don't have any questions. Alex and Nicole, Alex, thank you very much. I think you explained the whole budget. It looks great. But I want to thank you both very much for everything you do over there. The library is one of our biggest positives in this city. Everybody says it. We appreciate the work that you're doing, so
Thank you very much.
no retiring.
We have the best job in the city, so we're happy where we are.
Nice. Counselor Tossi?
I would just say, keep up the great work. Thank you for what you're doing, and everything looks great.
Thank you.
Okay, any other members of the city council? Counselor Robbins?
First, Alex and Nicole, I just want to say thank you. You guys are incredibly supportive of the community just as a whole. I know you always step up when the United Way is running fundraisers, or not fundraisers, food drives, which support the organization that I run, but others in the community. So first, thank you for that. I'm going to say this is for the public, but it's also for me. Can you explain just a little bit more how the state aid for libraries works and why you have to spend a certain amount on materials?
Absolutely. So State Aid to Public Libraries is a program funded by the state where it's sort of it's sort of chapter.
Hold the microphone.
Yeah, can you
Oh, I'm sorry.
the microphone,
And
Alex?
I don't even
Is it on?
tap it.
Is it on now?
Can you tap it a little bit?
Ah, yeah, there we go. Sorry about that.
Okay, we can hear you.
It's an equalizer between different communities. It's sort of like Chapter 70 and Chapter 90, but specifically for libraries. So libraries of our size have to spend 13% of their operating budget, or of their total budget rather, on materials. So for us, that's about a little shy of $240,000. So we make up most of that from our materials budget, our book budget that you just approved, or maybe not approved yet, but we're getting there, I hope. And then we make some of it up from other areas, including state aid and fundraising.
And that doesn't just have to go to books, but it's
No,
audiovisual.
It's very unrestricted. It can go to, in terms of our materials, it goes to anything that circulates.
Okay,
So including databases and ebooks.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for the explanation, and thanks for all you do for the community.
My pleasure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Arndinger?
Yeah, thank you very much. I just have a couple comments. I walk into the library and I see that bulletin board, and I see all the events that you have scheduled, especially in the children's room and stuff like that, and it's just amazing. But I found a resource that I had no idea that was around, and that's your archives of the newspapers.
Oh, yes.
I'm doing research for another organization. I think you got newspapers back to 1800 or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
And it's just amazing and that's online. You don't have to go to the library. You can just go online and research almost anything.
It is, yes. So
So-
we send a few $1,000s to that project every year, and we add more and more every
Yeah.
year.
I spoke to the lady that runs, I forget her name, but
Diane.
Diane, yeah, and she says you're up to about 3 years behind that you don't have on digital.
Yes, I
Something
think that's
like
right.
that. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Great resource. Thank you
it's a
for
wonderful
having
resource.
it.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Counselor Noseworthy?
Thank you so much, Alex and Nicole. I also don't have any questions. I just want to echo everyone else's sentiments. The library is just a phenomenal resource for our community. It's a gorgeous building. The staff is phenomenal. I know Councilor Arndinger brought up, things he saw on the board, but like the great things you do with genealogy. I know my own children and a lot of their friends and a lot of teenagers. You give a great place for teens that wouldn't necessarily have a place to go to game and events. So it's like you have stuff for small children, you have stuff for teens, you have stuff for all ages, and I just think that it really is a jewel for the community. So thank you so much for all that you and your staff do every day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Counselor Shalfo-Zephyr?
No questions, just a quick comment. I've been lucky enough to work with both Alex and Nicole for a long time, and I can attest to how hard they work and how hard the whole library staff does. I mean, we have a great group, I think, of dedicated people who really love the library, and they love the services. They really love providing what the library provides. Everything. My new personal favorite are electronic books, because
Yes.
I can download them for free, which is wonderful, for my long car rides. So just another plug for the library, but you guys do great work. And thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? It's 5:59. We are running perfectly on time. So thank you guys very much. Keep running the good and efficient operation over there that you've been doing for a long time. We appreciate it very, very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And at 6 o'clock, we're going to have the fire in here. So it is 6 o'clock, right on the nose. And Chief, I see you don't have much support tonight. You're
No, I
running
went
solo? You're running solo?
I went
Okay.
solo. And you make me follow the library?
Well, you're not as perfect as the library, no?
Hey,
Just for anybody that's following along, this is on page 044 of the budget book. I should have mentioned that for the library. I'm sorry I didn't, but I'll do better moving forward. So, Chief, as everyone knows, I'm going to have to abstain from the salary and wages aspect of this because I do have a brother that serves in the fire department, so that is a conflict of interest. So what I am going to do, if nobody minds, first is I'm going to talk about the items on page, just on 045. And, well, some of it's at the bottom of 044, 045, and then some of the paramedic stuff on 046. And then I'm going to step out, and Councilor Cormier can run the meeting to talk about overtime and salaries and wages on the fire department. So from your expense side, first of all, do you have a presentation that you'd like to make?
not really. I usually kind of wing it.
Okay.
Just go with the flow.
I mean, everything looks pretty level funded for the most part. The only thing that I noticed, contract services is increasing from 9,500 that you got this fiscal year, and it's going to be 16,484 next fiscal year. That was one of the biggest things. Otherwise, on the expense side, if I'm not mistaken, looking at the numbers here, everything's pretty much level funded there. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So on page 046, regarding the paramedics, I know that you're supposed to have 8 because there's 4 shifts, 2 per shift.
Correct.
But you only have 7.
Correct.
And that's by design. And that's
Correct.
going to be by design in this next fiscal year as well. So the 7th position is going to be filled with overtime, correct?
Correct.
And you're also going to fill with overtime vacations and any that might be out sick and things of that nature?
Correct.
Okay.
In their
yeah.
medical expenses for like medical equipment is under the fire department budget.
Okay.
We share it. It's like, so under medical.
Yep.
That pays for the state licensing to use Worcester CMed when we have to talk to a hospital.
Yep.
And all of their medicines and, because you never can really tell if it's being used at the ALS level or the BLS level. So
Right. So you
that's
just
kind of combines.
put it all over there. The only other questions that I have before I step away, just looking at this, obviously we know what the increases are. They got raises as well, right, in this past?
Correct. You just voted on.
The ones we just voted on, they
Yep,
included
so
them.
3-year contract.
Yep, and education, something new on here is $3,500 for educational reimbursement and $7,168 for paramedic professional development.
Correct.
That's the only thing that I see really increasing here besides the salaries or changing or being added.
Correct, and those were part of the collective bargaining agreement.
Okay.
I can go into detail if you wish.
Just, what is it going to entail for them?
So obviously, when you're a paramedic at the ALS level, requires a lot of schooling and training and recertifications on a 2-year basis. So the educational reimbursement is if they take a certain course, once they complete it, they can turn in $500. They can get up to $500 per year. So the 3,500. And the paramedic professional development is gives them a bigger stipend for advanced training and taking additional courses.
Okay, that's a good incentive. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
We did the professional development on the firefighter side. It's actually worked awesome. So basically is you know, a firefighter or a paramedic, they could go to an outside organization and get training, but we feel that we can bring the training in-house, make it mandatory, and, you know, through the collective bargaining, they got a stipend for it. Yeah. But in the end, it's I think, a much better avenue to upgrade our system for both firefighting and ambulance, ALS.
Good, okay, sounds good. I think that's all that I had. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna step away and Councilor Cormier can weigh in and then talk about all the other rest of the stuff and then have a big discussion with, and then I'll.
Tell me what a great job I'm doing like you did for the library. I hope you save some of that.
So you were lucky enough for your training and development. Didn't you just host a area-wide one too? Or
yeah, correct. We had 150 people from mostly from New England states, and we brought in 4 outside guest speakers. One from New York City, one from Boston, one from Worcester, and one from New Britain, Connecticut, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And use that new indoor facility and everything. So
we did, yeah, and we ended up making more money than it cost, so we're keeping that in a kitty that it was like seed money, so next year we're already ahead of the game, so they can host one.
Councilor Robbins?
Can I take us back to the paramedic situation
Sure.
for a moment? I guess my first question is, do you ever find that it's hard to fill that last 8th position with such a small crew of people to pull from?
So luckily, the paramedics are all very dedicated and stepped up. There's only been a few shifts where we haven't had 2 on duty. We've gone down to 1.
Okay.
So we can still run with 1 by our license.
Yeah.
And we force hire on the fire side, and we'll force hire on the paramedic side, but I'm very careful when I'm going to force hire a paramedic because they're given narcotics.
Right.
So if one of them's out sick and we can't hire, I'm really reluctant to force hire. If they want it, we try to hire. But it's different than the firefighting side because that's more manual. This one is really using their brain, given medicines. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I just would like to go on the record and say I would love to see us hire that 8th position at some point soon,
Sure.
because I worry about similarly to what you just said, just like these people are tired, they're working overtime constantly. To have that 8th position filled, we wouldn't have to worry about some of those things. So if that ever comes before us, it's something that I would be supportive of.
So when I say I wing it, so my main theme tonight was going to be about the 8th paramedic, how important it is that we hire it. So my presentation would be based around most of that, but I definitely have the fire side I got to worry about. So the paramedic program, the ALS program, has worked out so good. It's amazing what the level of care we're giving out in the street now. It starts with our fire truck and the ambulance and with the paramedics being on scene. But I think having 1 position full-time is starting to wear a little thin. And any break in the armor, you don't want to have it. So
Yeah.
our revenues keep increasing. So we raised the rates over a year ago. We keep getting busier. And I looked at the numbers at the end of April, so I got 2 months to go, and I'm $175,000 more in ambulance revenue than I was at last year at this time. Wow. So I know the mayor and the comptroller, they have to balance the budget, and they got to make sure all departments are, funded so that everybody's treated fairly and operational. But other communities do an enterprise account, and the money that the ambulance brings in can help pay for this. And I'm not trying to say we need an enterprise account because the city has done a great job, putting the money back in. It's just that when I see the revenue coming in, I wish that we could earmark that towards the paramedics. Goes in the general fund. So anything that the comptroller that's, I do have to say the mayor and the comptroller have been awesome.
No,
They helped. We started this program, the city council, you voted for it. You know, within 2 years, it's remarkable of what's happening. We have, you know, the other night we had a tragic accident, and it's like clockwork. We're getting people to the trauma center. We're getting people that have heart attacks to the cath lab in Worcester.
Yeah.
It's really, really working good. So thank you.
no, I appreciate it.
Allowing me to talk about it for a
I
while.
think we constantly hear what such a great program it is, and
Yeah.
I understand that this is something we do a lot on the police and fire side normally, and I get it. I think it just, for me, it comes down to being the one position, so
Correct.
I would be fully in support of adding that eighth position if it was eighth position if it was solely my decision. And hopefully the comptroller and the mayor can take a look at that. Thank you.
I'm in trouble tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you very much. The Neshoba Valley closing and then the labor and delivery unit closing, have those added to the traffic that the ambulances are taking?
Yes.
Okay.
So I was on the governor's council, that special committee put together. There was 5 fire chiefs, and we put a lot of time and effort, and there's a supplemental budget from the state coming down that hopefully will give the 13 communities $350,000. And what I'd like to do that, if it passes, is to staff a 3rd ambulance on overtime weekday days. It would be no cost to the city. It would be through this funding.
Through that funding, okay.
And the reason is, you know, the communities there in those communities affected greatly. Their transport times have gone crazy.
That's right.
What's happened in Leominster is our time at the hospital. So we run into problems, and all the ambulances do is you get to the hospital and there's no beds to put the patient. So the patient has to stay on the stretcher. If they're at the ALS level, the paramedic has to stay by their side. They can't transfer the patient until the medical staff at the hospital takes over. So what's happened is our time, they call it holding the wall, or our time with a patient on our stretcher at the hospital has gone up. And when you run the numbers, and this was the hard part with convincing the state, is it may not seem like a long time, you know, minutes, but when you have 7,000 ambulance calls and 5,000 are going to the hospital, and if you, an extra 5 minutes per call. So what Leominster is lucky because we run 2 staffed ambulances because we have the hospital in the community. If we didn't have the hospital in the community, we would need 3 because our ambulances are very rarely out of service once they get to the hospital. Because the hospital's in the middle of the city, they get to the hospital, and we know within a matter of a few minutes they're going to get the patient off the stretcher and they can handle the next call, and it's going to be quicker than calling mutual aid. What's happening now is because we're holding the wall, we have the 2 ambulances that we can't get the patient off, so now we have to make the decision is we have to call mutual aid.
Okay.
So we are greatly affected by the closing of Neshoba. So what I was hoping for is if we get the money to staff the 3rd ambulance at least weekday days, until we get to that year or 2 years for them to open up the emergency room, that's what that supplemental budget was for, was to help
Like a
us
bridge.
get bridge
Yeah.
to get to. But then, you know, at some point the cities should be looking at staffing that, keeping that 3rd ambulance staffed. You know, once that emergency room opens, the city keeps getting busier, and, you know, there's more apartments coming in, there's more, you know, this is where everybody comes, so.
We're getting older.
We're getting older. Mental health, you know, when I come down, I always talk about mental health, substance abuse. Police reform affected us because police, you know, in my time used to be able to PC somebody and bring them they used to be able to bring in mental health clinics. Now you can't transport patients there. The police have to call us more on mental health issues because it's just the way of the world now. So our ambulance, like I said, it's over 7,000 runs, EMS runs, and 5,400 last year were trips to the hospital. And out of that is, we have a lot of sick people that we pick up. And when we had the opportunity to talk to the governor and the people from the Department of Health from the state, I brought up about the demographics of this area.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I brought up about the closing of Burbank, Cutler Army Hospital. Now you're closing Neshoba, but we live here, we love our community, but the demographics, there's a lot of poor, sick people that we deal with, and you run Jenny's, and
Absolutely.
now we're as the fire department side and EMSs, we're going into a lot of houses that we have to do follow-ups because their living conditions are such. So we're actually working with the police, health inspectors, and we're spending a lot of time going back, trying to find family members, trying to find people to get their houses in order and make sure that they're taking care of the elderly, the veterans. This was all stuff that had the opportunity on that governor's subcommittee there that we talked about a lot, and Leominster isn't alone. It was every community, and some of them more affluent than ours. But so I guess it's my pitch for our service is we're the fire department, but we're actually fire, EMS, first responders, helping mental health issues, helping crises in the city.
Thank you, Chief.
That's it. A long answer for the question you asked.
That's okay. That's good information.
Yeah, no, it is.
Any others?
Mine is brief, Chief. I just want to thank you for all that you and everyone else does. Most of my questions have already been answered by the other counselors, but like you said, it's not just fire anymore. It's mental health. It's so many other things, and we just deeply appreciate everything you do for the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Any other counselors? No, seeing none. I will say, Chief, we love what you're doing.
We do.
I'm in the court system myself, so a lot of your clients are my clients as well. And they take a lot of work. And
Yeah.
and we thank you, and we thank your firefighters and your paramedics for their compassion as well.
Yeah, thank you. Just to take a few minutes. No, we have so many great people who work in the fire department. I talked about the EMS side. Everybody in the department is an EMT. Everybody does EMS. But on the fire side too is, we're a 43,000 population community that has the commerce center of Northwest County. And, we do a lot of responding with the fire service, a lot of inspections, a lot of, the basic firefighting. We have been fortunate with the COVID money because we were able to invest a lot of money in our buildings by doing, fixing up all the living quarters. So we were able to do all individual bunk rooms. We have, female, males. Fire stations were built as dormitories for the military. So we've been able to upgrade those. We've upgraded most of the laboratories so that they're all, what's the word I'm looking, unisex. And we've put a lot of into the buildings, just that now that the COVID money's run out, just keep it on your agenda. And then I guess the final thing is the price of equipment has gone crazy. Ladder trucks, our last one was $900-something thousand. 10 years ago, they're talking $2 million for the same similar truck. Fire pumpers, we were buying them $500,000, $600,000. They're $1 million. And in the next few years, the city's going to have to purchase, hopefully, a new engine and a new ladder truck. And the ambulances are $500,000. It's.
We'll keep that on our
Yeah.
radar.
Madam Chair, just
Just briefly, Chief, on what you said about the COVID money and the repairs and the updates that you make.
Yeah.
I don't know if everybody is aware, but a lot of you guys did that work yourselves.
Correct. So, yes.
Use that money wisely
Yep.
and put in the hard work.
And I came up, my father was on, and he was in the union, obviously, and I was in the union. I was on negotiating team stuff, and unions get a bad rap. Those were union firefighters that, you know, we bought the materials, and they did a lot of the work themselves. We had to hire outside people, but they were outstanding on, you know, remodeling and, you know, and it makes their living better, but if they're in a better living condition and they're recuperating and they have a nice kitchen to prepare a meal, when they go out on the street, they're much more in tune, they give better care, you know, they feel respected. Morale is huge in places like fire and police, DPW. Everyone has pride, and it's like, I know, you know, city councils, if you're in this business, it's because of pride. It's, you know, we're not here for the money.
Thank you, Chief.
Madam
Yeah.
Chair, just real quick. Hello, Chief. How are you?
I'm good, Council.
Just, how do you feel about the mutual aid? Has that stayed pretty equal for most of the communities that you have to deal with?
So it's pretty equal on what we give and what we receive. What's going up is the total numbers. So daily, we're requesting a mutual aid ambulance on the average. Some days we don't, but there's other days we'll do 2 or 3 times. So you know, 10 years ago, we didn't call mutual aid ambulances. Once in a great while, the private ambulance company was bigger, and they backed us up. But now with the closing of Neshoba, the increase of everything we talked about is mutual aid ambulances are, like I said, daily, and it's a round robin. We'll run out of an ambulance because they're at the hospital waiting. We call Lunenburg. Lunenburg will get a call. They get a call Fitchburg. Next thing you know, our ambulance is at service, but it's going to Fitchburg because they get the next one in line. And then as far as the fire side is, all of the smaller communities around all had call force, and they were smaller communities. They've all grown. It's hard to maintain a call force in this day and age. It's hard to recruit, liability and everything. So the saying I say is, none of us in this area can fight a house fire without the help of mutual aid. We used to handle house fires because we would be able to call in our people, but most of them, not most of them, some of them starting to move out of town. They have, both them and their spouse have jobs to, you know, make ends meet. So our call force was basically our off-duty people, and that's not reliable. We still do it, but it's not reliable. So the mutual aid is, we rely on each other much, much more. But I wouldn't say there's an abuse to it.
I know when the economy starts getting tight, some communities aren't able to do what we do sometime.
Correct.
And then it just throws it a little bit, making it unequal. So.
Yeah, and I think we've both been around long enough to know we're on the verge of one of those economies in the state.
That's why I brought it up.
Yeah, you know, we hear all the rumors. There's departments across the state that are talking about, you know, not hiring or, you know, cutting back. The big thing for us is we run our ambulance, we run our own paramedics, and we get those revenues, which supplements our fire department, because our 4 people on duty that run the 2 ambulances, they respond to the fire. That's like having another fire truck in the city.
Right.
There's a 4-man crew or 4-person crew that are coming that I can put to work, you know, most of the time. And that's because we do the billing, and it's third-party billing, so it really doesn't affect the taxpayer.
And just for the record, I know you don't want to hear it, but I'm not a supporter of the enterprise fund.
Yep. I don't know if I am.
We've had that discussion many times over the years, and you know, you could have a really good year in something that brings in a lot of money into that account, and something over here needs something and you can't move it. I mean, I think the council has always been pretty good with the department.
I agree with you 100%. I'm good with our system because the enterprise account would make me more accountable. So
Yeah.
I would really have to, no, the council's always done it. It's just that I just like to say we brought in $2.5 million here and then $300,000, so we're almost $3 million what we brought into the city. So when the
I'm sure Jen could
comptroller
calculate
hears
that
that on
for us.
TV, but we look at a lot of other departments that may not be running as good as we do, and they're having issues. And I think one of the reasons we're not having issues is because we found a funding source.
Right.
Right. So.
I do appreciate everything you do.
No, and I appreciate everything the council has done over these years, so.
Thank you.
Chief, thank you for coming down.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Okay, moving on to DPW, which anyone that's following along begins on page 065 in the budget book. So Ray, if I didn't know you, I would ask you, what you thought of this budget, but knowing you, I know what you're going to say. You're going to make do, right?
I don't know, man. Similar to the chief, I mean, we got old pickups that we plow with that are worth 60, now 100 grand. So we're in the same boat as everybody else. Everything's gone up and it's just been outrageous. So, again, we'll do what we need to do and we'll always stay busy, but just keep in mind.
With some of yours too, it's hard to find the vehicles even.
That is correct. Big trucks we can't get anymore because of the emissions, and drivers we can't get anymore because people just don't want to do this type of work anymore. So, again, we say it all the time, it's like a magic trick that we get done when we get done with what we have to work with. But we'll just keep going.
So, Ray, as I move through this budget, is there any other kind of presentation you want to make, or you want me to just bring up some?
Just one thing, and I think Jay will agree. We have a lot of projects going on right now, and the traffic is going to be unbearable. But I don't really have a way around it. Huh?
Going to be, you said?
It's going to get worse.
I know.
Wait till 12 starts.
I know, that's where we are.
So we'll try to post daily on how the traffic routes go, and Jake's been working with N-Grid and with our guys we got working on Elm Street, lining that water main that's been needing to be relined for 100 years. We're gonna get rid of a lot of dirty water calls, but it's hard to make all that traffic move, and like I say, Jake's working with them. We're trying to get the buses through, and I know what I'm doing. I'm going around it. I'm not gonna try to go through it, and I highly recommend it to everybody else too. And we'll post as much as we can on our Facebook page, how the traffic patterns are gonna flow, and everybody just be patient and bear with us.
Okay. So moving through, I think we all know the increases in this, the admin and clerks and salaries and all that. We just approved those increases. It looks like your expenses are very level funded, if I'm not mistaken, right?
They are.
So I guess one of my questions would be, as far as your staffing, I know you were having issues at one point. You couldn't hire laborers, and how's that market changing?
Same.
Still the same?
Yeah, I interviewed, I spoke with a couple of guys that had commercial driver's licenses, and by contract, the guys need to have a CDL driver's license to drive our trucks. And one guy told me I couldn't even I had no rebuttal. He said, I'm collecting more on unemployment than you can pay me. Mm-hmm. So that's a problem. Yep. The entry-level guy we're having a hard time drawing in, and we absolutely cannot get a mechanic. So we're trudging through. I mean, this is the third year on no mechanic. And unfortunately, you know, we bring in guys, we have some guys that have some kind of mechanic talent, and they volunteer, or we have them go in the garage and fix some things, but a lot of stuff's being subbed out.
And that's only in the wintertime that we can do that, when they're
Yeah.
on the road doing work. During the, rest of the year, they have a full-time job.
Okay.
So,
I think right now we're at 36 guys for 500 streets, 200 miles. That's not a lot.
Yeah.
And Sue mentioned it too, we're getting old. It's a fact. But those are the only people that want to work.
I know.
Snow and ice, very level funded, but obviously,
We can't predict that.
We make supplemental appropriations as need
Yeah.
be. I guess the key there is, unless you like to ski, to pray for a mild winter.
And that statutorily, if we do increase it, you can't decrease it ever. So that's why we always keep it level funded, and then we supplement with whatever's needed,
Okay.
which we still need to do, but yeah, we still need to do a
I
final.
actually just did those
Yeah.
Did you?
calculations today,
Okay.
so I was gonna drop them off tomorrow.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. Looking on page 069, one of the things that kind of stuck out, there's been no money in the past for diesel, but now there's diesel. Can you explain that? Is it something that's been reclassified, or?
So it's, that's the highway fuel depot account, and so we do separate gas and diesel expenses. I know we had a vote.
You're right.
We caught some issues there.
Yeah.
So that account's kind of been, there was a mess a long time ago, and it's been a lot cleaner over the past couple of years, and we're really just trying to get the right money in the right orgs and objects. Usually it's all just been grouped in, the appropriation's just been into the gasoline account, and then we'll expense the diesel negative. And it works out, but this is just cleaner.
I gotcha, okay.
And a lot of times we have trouble at the end of the year because you always need to make that one final purchase,
Right.
and sometimes we can't
Do we
get
have to
down
calibrate
for
too?
a council
Yeah,
order.
it's on the
So this will
schedule.
make it easier.
Gotcha.
Flow
Okay.
better.
Plus, we found out that our fuel gauges, we had to recalibrate, they were off, so our measurements were not accurate as they should be.
Okay.
So we've been working on that also.
Okay, right, we took care of that. We approved some money for that the other night. Street marking, it was 35,000, and last year we went down to 1,500, now up to 35.
So the 35 has been kind of the level funded amount for really the past probably 10 or more years. We were unable to get a contract out in the prior year, and so we had all that money left over. So
Gotcha.
there's just a way where we were looking to cut, I think we cut 4% last year, and now it's a way that we could cut because we could carry over some money.
Okay.
We still got a contract out, we were able to spend and use that money, but now that account's been depleted, so we just need to get it back to level funded.
I gotcha, okay, I understand. All right, it looks like the sanitation and street cleaning is pretty level funded.
Feel free to bump any of them up.
Yeah, well, I don't have that authority. Fortunately, we don't have that authority.
That's another, just a note on that, it's another account that's, we have the catch basin cleaner and the street sweepers we see around, and the repairs come out of that account.
Yeah.
The sweepers, we have a newer sweeper, but the catch basin cleaner is starting to cost us more and more every year in repairs, it's just getting a little bit older. So something that's on our radar for, the near future for capital requests.
Okay.
If we can get one.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can even get one.
Yeah.
Okay. The cemetery department is also under you. I think any of us can understand the increases in salaries. It looks like mostly everything else is pretty level funded there as well. I think that's it. As far as, my questions, I know that, anytime there's an issue that, the mayor will come down here, supplemental funding, and, I think that's how we're going to continue to operate. So
We have no problem with that.
I will ask Councilor Cormier, the other member of Finance, if you have any questions.
No specific questions, thank you.
Councilor Tossi?
No, not at this time, but great job, guys. Great
Thank you.
job.
Okay. Any other
Better than
members?
the fire chief? Level.
Any other members of the council? Councilor Shalfo Zephyr?
I have a question. Ray, when you just said, if you can get machines like street sweepers, and there was another one that Jake
Catch
mentioned.
basin cleaners.
Catch basin cleaners. Is that because they're not being manufactured, or is that because they're too high priced, or?
The emissions on the motors, that they can't come up with a motor that can pass today's emissions. They've changed all those regulations.
Okay.
So Jake was lucky enough, we were chasing, and we got a couple of trucks that were canceled on us like 8 times. They were on order for 2 years, and all of a sudden they said, you're not getting anything. So we've been looking, and I guess a community bought used and canceled their order, and the distributor called us, and we took them. So we were lucky there. They're still being built.
When you bother them enough, sometimes they call you first.
And he's been bothering them.
Good.
Yeah. But the issue is, so Massachusetts is, I believe there's 7 other states that are trying to get the CARB Act, like California, for emissions, and that 2025 was the last model year that they were allowed to make trucks under the old emissions rules, and they are unable to make new heavy equipment, so like the big 6-wheel trucks, dump trucks, stuff like that, anything on road that meets that. They did just delay that, I believe, by 1 year, but the problem is that they already canceled the production of all the 2026 models. So they pushed it back, but it takes over a year to manufacture one of those trucks. So pushing it back a year, unfortunately, isn't making more inventory.
And a couple of companies tried to push electric trucks at that size, and I don't see it. I mean, those things are out running some nights 12, 15, 18 hours. I mean, we'll be leaving those things on the side of the road, those electric ones.
The weight of the batteries alone would be
My God, yeah.
terrible for the roads.
What the salesman had told me on those is that the batteries have to get mounted under the body as well, and the manufacturers are being required by the laws that are out there to warranty the batteries for 10 years, and they can't do that. And also, once they put that, a lot of the trucks come as a cab and a chassis, and then the upfitters like a JC Madigan or MHQ will upfit and put like the dump bodies on them, or a salt, sander in the back, or a basin cleaner in the back. If you needed to replace that battery, that whole body has to come off, and a lot of times these bodies cost more than the trucks do. And so not only does the manufacturer have to warranty the battery, but they would have to then cover the cost to pay the upfitter to remove all of it, and so no one's standing behind it. So a lot of manufacturers are looking for ulterior technologies to combat that outside of the batteries. But I think it'll be difficult going forward, but something will come up.
There might be some communities that cash strapped, right? The used equipment market might be okay.
Yeah, that's true.
We tried, actually.
We tried, and we were on our way to buy them, and the guy calls us, don't come, someone just bought them. And what was it? It was pretty far away.
Nahant.
They changed trucks every 5-6 years, and they were in good shape because they only drive a mile up and down the road. That's all they got there. So we were excited to go look at them, and because they're all stainless steel, and we didn't get there in time. But it's not from lack of trying, because we've been working at it.
If I may, can I just, for a minute, just pull this back into, I forgot to mention that this includes water and sewer as well, which falls under the DPW. So I just want to talk for a minute, and then I'll go back to the council about page 091 and 094, just really quick, just to cover. The clerks, I noticed that in FY24, we budgeted maybe 2, I'm assuming by the number, and then in 2025, we budgeted 1, and it looks like we're back up to 2. Is that
was just a clerical mistake on the submissions. If you look at the water quality control account, that the second clerk from FY25 was lumped into that.
Okay.
That much of that group as well. So, and that's just a housekeeping kind of thing. I cleaned it back up for this year.
We only have four clerical in our office.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Gotcha. I was wondering about that. Okay. It looks like the other stuff is pretty much level funded as well. Expenses, water support service as well. And then on the sewer side, once again, the same story with the increase in salaries. And it looks like the expenses are pretty level funded as well. Is there anything else you want to discuss with the water and sewer part of it? And then we'll go back to the council for questions on all of it.
The biggest change for the water and sewer this year is we did have the rate increase that was approved last year, and that's allowed us to now have some money available in our water capital and sewer capital accounts where we ran a really, really lean account. In FY25, FY26, we'll have some capital money there that we can do, some maintenance, some projects, some upgrades.
So do you think we're going to be good for a while on any additional increases? Because we kind of did, so how many years forward, I forget, did we?
2020 and 2021 were the last two.
Yeah.
And then we did, that was kind of like a two-tier.
Yeah.
And we did a similar thing for FY25 and 26.
Okay.
And the plan with that, without withstanding any unforeseen circumstances, is that will get us to a point where we can pay off a large debt service, especially on the water side.
Yeah.
And once that's paid off, start going and looking at upgrading the Fallbrook treatment plant, and the debt service should offset itself there.
I was going to say, so we'll roll one debt into the other. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what that rate increase was to bridge that gap.
Yeah.
And that should hopefully go there. So like I said, that's foreseeing any unforeseen.
What year is that going to be paid off? Do you know?
FY31.
Okay.
But a lot of times we would be pursuing an SRF loan for those like we have in the past, and a lot of times you get the interim loan, and then it starts the repayment after the project's complete, and a lot of times those are multi-year projects. So the hope is to, like I said, work it out where the first year of repayment is also the year after the last year of repayment. So there's a little bit of a buffer in there. So it doesn't we don't have to start the project in FY31. We can start that in 28, 29,
yeah,
and then go plan the repayment to start on 31.
Nice, good, okay. All right, is there any other questions about Councilor Shapelzephyr?
Yep, thank you. I do have a question. It's on page 069. It's about contract services, and this is for the landfill capping.
So just to, sorry to interrupt, but the landfill, that account is controlled by the health department. It's under the grouping here, but that's not a DPW controlled account.
It's not a DPW account? Okay, so I have to ask for the health department. Okay, thank you, Jake.
Sorry.
That's okay. The question is, though, maybe Jen, can I ask you? So I'm assuming that this is for the engineering services that the city contracts Woodward and Curran for?
On the contract services down at the bottom?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay. Do you know why it went up? Is there a change in scope of or change in services to what Woodward and Curran are doing because it went up 25%?
I believe for this year, there's an
27.
additional repair of the flare that was out there.
Okay.
And we can double check with the health department, but I know that the contract itself went up because they had a new contract starting this year. And then, but I believe also some of the money is in there to repair the flare that was out there.
Okay. Would you just double check with
Sure.
the health department? Thank you. Thanks.
Is that Councilor?
I am.
Okay, anybody else have any questions? Councilor Frida?
Yeah, I have a question, page 073 under the cemetery department. And I gotta think this is in the wrong place, or there's something about the cemetery department that we don't know. And there's $400 for prisoners, meals for prisoners.
You cut the brush.
We're the prisoners.
And you only get $400?
That's
That's
it.
terrible.
Don't they cut the brush?
We actually used to use those. We haven't for a few years. I don't think they loan those guys out that much anymore, or at least we don't require
They
them.
did in the past, I know
Yeah.
when,
Well, we have a couple of seasonal guys now that fill that role, so we haven't needed them. It's actually easier because we don't have to watch them, and it's not that
Can I
much
come
fun.
up at the cemetery commission meeting?
No. It's only $250, but
Yeah, but what, are the meals for prisoners that are working, you know what that's for?
we don't have any prisoners that work there. It must be an old item,
It's gotta be old.
just an old item that they, I don't know.
and the free cash.
Yep, I would guarantee none of it's been spent in as long as many fiscal years it's been on there.
Because it's,
Probably, and it covers overages, so it's in the line item if, one of these.
You know, I think it needs to be said how fortunate we've been, because you've really been ahead of the curve for a number of years when other communities around us were not doing what was mandated. You know, we did it, you with Roger Brooks in the past and Wendy with the grants. I mean, we've been really very fortunate to get to this point. We had to start doing some of the, our neighbor across the line is really,
They're separating their sewers now?
They're gonna
And
go
they're
down
getting
because they
crushed.
didn't do the mandate.
Yeah, but we were so far ahead of it, and I don't think we have 1 or 2 left. So we've picked away at it, and we were lucky that we were ahead of it.
Well, for the amount of guys that you have,
Yeah.
it's remarkable. I mean, if
We
we
appreciate that.
call for a repair or a pothole or whatever, I mean, it's done within a day or two. So, I mean, it's a real credit to the, although it's not good, you're too efficient, so it looks like you don't need more guys, so.
Well, they need a mechanic, I
That works
think.
in your favor.
I'd take 40 good guys.
Yeah.
I think that'd be
Yeah,
enough for us.
Clearly.
The equipment is what is getting older for us, that we'll have to start thinking, and some of it's big equipment, like as Jake mentioned earlier. That's a concern, that's something we're worried about.
I think the passion for the city on everything that's done, from recreational activities to serious stuff, is all the same. And just,
You see the Doyle Field, the crew down there is tremendous. I've never seen that place look that good, and Pat did a nice job, but these guys are great.
Yeah.
okay, Councilor Robin?
Not a question, just want to pass along my thanks as well. Similar to Councilor Frida, soft spot in my heart for the DPW, so thanks for everything you guys do.
You could go back to looking for help.
Say that again?
They don't want people like me.
I know, the traffic's unfortunate, but it does
Just get a
show
commercial driver's license.
how much work you guys
only
do
costs
get
$8
done
grand.
in a short period of time. You
Crazy.
only have a couple months that
Yeah.
you can get out there and work, so you guys do a great job.
The guys are tremendous, and can't say enough about Steve Ricka. He runs that crew, and the guy's a machine, and he's nuts. But we love him. Yeah, he's really good.
Councilor Noseworthy, I think I saw your hand.
Oh, yes, thank you. Again, also, no question, just want to thank you both and your whole team for everything you do for the city and keeping everything moving.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We can't credit our guys enough, because when there is ever a difficult situation, that's where they are the best. They get together and they really go at it with pride, and it's actually fun to watch.
Sure
Okay.
saw that with the flood, that's for sure. You guys were out there.
Yeah, I think of
Full
that.
time.
I think
The whole
the
rest of the crew.
efficiency hurt us,
Yep.
because when they came, we had a lot of stuff patched up that was absolutely blown up. So, I mean, live and learn. But I would do it the same way again.
I know, I was gonna say,
Public safety.
yep.
Any other questions for the DPW? Seeing none, thank you very much. Keep
Welcome.
up the good work, and
Thanks.
we appreciate you being here.
You got it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
very much.
Thanks,
Thank
both.
you.
And last but not least, the police. We're only running about 20 minutes behind, which is not too bad.
How was Chief Columbia?
Good evening, Chief. How are you? This is your
How are you?
very good, your first budget hearing
First one.
with us.
Nice to see everyone. Very nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you as well, Chief.
Sorry to meet sooner.
Absolutely.
Chief, do you have any presentation you want to make, or you want me to just get into some of the stuff that I found, or?
Let's get into it, yeah.
Okay.
That's fine.
All right, so we can start out on, just for anybody that's following, on page 040. Once again, like every other department, I think we understand the increases there. We just approved the wage table that was negotiated. Are you going to be keeping your staffing 62 officers, is that correct?
We're actually budgeted for 79 sworn members, but the 62, that's patrolmen, correct?
62 patrolmen, right? And
We haven't been those levels in years.
So how many do you have now? Because I know there was a point where the previous chief talked about he was having a hard time finding recruits. Is things?
Yeah, right now we're down by 3.
Okay.
However, there is 2 in the police academy right now, so they're technically not sworn, but they're in the mix. They're in the academy. So we're trying to hire 3 very soon.
Okay.
It'd be nice to be fully staffed. We'd be very fortunate.
Okay, and the other thing that I always bring up every year is the educational differential, which is known as the Quinn bill. That is diminishing because that is no longer, guys are grandfathered into that, correct?
Yeah, there's 10 sworn members who still receive the Quinn bill.
There are 10 that still receive it.
But as far as education incentive, which is in the collective bargaining agreement, that is 26 officers receive some kind of education incentive that's separate from the Quinn bill.
Okay, so that's not going to drop off.
It's only going to increase over time. Yeah.
Okay, so the Quinn bill is going to kind of decrease and drop off.
Exactly.
But there's another educational differential that is contractual.
Yes, we hope to recruit the officers who are educated. So it's very nice they have that in their CBA.
Okay, good. Moving on to, you have a major increase. So obviously the building at 116 Central Street has been fully operational now for definitely a full fiscal year. And we're seeing that there is a lot of equipment in there, I'm sure, that is constantly running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. That is really putting a strain, it looks like, on your electric bills and things of that nature. So there's a major increase with your expenses going from $247,000 to $455,000. So is that going to be pretty standard? Is there anything that, now that we're like pretty wowed by these bills, anything that can be shut off maybe on the weekends or different?
That's most likely going to be standard now.
Okay.
And that's only because we operate for 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
What we do to save efficiency is, let's say it's after hours, we try just to maintain the heat levels and the air conditioner levels. It's set so it's automatic, so on the second and the third floor, which is the admin staff for the most part, it's not going to be full blast like it is on the first floor, where the patrolmen are 24 hours a day. So that would be the savings there, but this most likely will be the forecast for the future.
Okay.
And unfortunately, it's only going to go up with utility costs, as we all know.
Right, right.
And this is still somewhat of an estimate because.
That's correct. We did the appropriation.
Right. After this year, we will have a much better idea of being in the building for a
For a long
year.
time, National Grid refused to send us a bill.
Yeah,
We worked with the comptroller's office. The police department made phone calls to National Grid. We want to thank you for your support with that, Jen. And they just weren't sending us the bill, which was unfortunate. So how do you forecast? And then we just started to receive these large bills, and now we think that we're on the right track with it. But it's tough to tell till we actually have these bills for a year.
Right, right. Contract services was $164,000 going up to $259,000.
That's correct.
What is some of that going to entail?
Yeah, with the new building, coming from the building that we are at, the cleaning bill significantly rose. What we have to do is we have a new facility. We have to keep that new facility brand new. And because of that, we had to increase the services for the cleaning crew. And that went up to $104,000 a year. So that is a huge amount of that we didn't have before. And that's only because of the size of the building, and we want to make sure that we maintain it. And then everything in the building has a license, it has a warranty, and those services and those fees, we didn't have those before with the old building. And so now we do, so that's the significant increase.
Right. No, I think I totally support. I mean, you don't spend $30 million on a building and then just just let it deteriorate. Like the maintenance is very important. You know, one little thing breaks and you just let it go, and then it just keeps snowballing. I think we've seen a lot of that.
Yeah, we call that the broken windows theory.
You're right, and that's
you
not
let something
good.
small go, it's just going to snowball. And we owe it to the taxpayers and also the officers to maintain that building.
I think
We
it's a
wanna keep it
small
looking
amount
nice.
of money to pay now to
I agree.
to save in the future.
Thank you.
And the other one thing I have is the in-service supplies reforms.
Yep.
No money for that in the past. That seems to be something new.
We actually did have that in the past, but I think it was called something
Oh,
else.
so it's been reclassified.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
The name is slightly different.
I think it was
and that's
mixed in with the overtime, and so it was better to break it out.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
correct, yeah.
So what is
And that's,
that?
for example, tools for the range,
Gotcha.
tools for the instructors.
Okay.
It's equipment for training.
One of the other things that comes to mind, I had noticed when I drive by on Lancaster Street, the backside of the station, that the gate wasn't closing for a while. And I said to myself, well, I'm, you know, we already letting things go. Like it wasn't closing. Has that been rectified? Whatever was that a defect in when?
Yeah, we had some major issues with the gate, and then we had to go back and forth in order to, you know, they're pointing the finger at the vendor who installed it. You know, they're not returning phone calls with the builder, et cetera. And they wanted the city to pay for some of that. And we saw it as, this is brand new, you installed it, we shouldn't have to pay a cent. And so after so many months, we went back and forth. The gate did stay open for a long time, as you know. But we got the builders to install a completely new gate, and they dug up the old one. They redid the cement so it's straight like it's supposed to be. And the issue was at first when they put the gate in, they had to cut the gate to balance it. And then they always did their best to make sure the alignment was set. However, because they had to fabricate it from scratch, it was just never right. And I think it wasn't straight in the ground because of when they poured the concrete, et cetera. So they redid it, and since then we have had some minor issues, but it hasn't been with the gate itself. It's been with the control box for the gate. So with anything electric, and it's being used so many times, all hours of the night, it's, you know, snow conditions, ice, with the wear and tear, there will be problems, unfortunately, but it's way better than it was before.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, I think that's it for me. Councilor Cormier, do you have any questions?
I have no questions. It looks like you guys are doing well and working within your budget and what you have.
Thank you.
How are you staffing wise?
We're down 3 right now.
Okay.
Yeah, we're trying to hire 3 officers very soon.
Okay. And how is, I mean, the last time you were in here, we talked about it a little bit. How are the younger officers doing? Are they staying put?
They're doing phenomenal. They're very active. They're doing some officer-initiated calls for service instead of being reactive and just waiting to be dispatched somewhere. They're doing a phenomenal job, actually. Yeah.
Okay.
We're very lucky.
And retention? People are staying?
As of right now. I hope they stay. The morale is great, it appears. So we just want to keep things going in a positive direction.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chief.
Councilor Tossi?
No questions, but again, a great job. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, members of council, I'll begin over with Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr.
Yep, thank you. Chief, you need 3 people. There are 2 people in the academy. Do you reach out to other departments, or is that a real thing that chiefs don't do, or, you know, police?
For a
You don't
lateral
poach from other
transfer, so to
departments?
speak,
Sorry?
for someone as a lateral transfer to
Yeah,
come to
lateral,
Leominster?
Yes, yeah.
Well, staffing right now is an issue throughout the Commonwealth.
Okay.
So there's a lot of situations where they don't want to allow someone else to go because it is so hard to retain people
Okay.
and to get an officer up to speed once they finally graduate the academy. So it really doesn't work like that.
Okay.
It actually goes off the civil service list, as you know, and they recently changed a few months ago the civil service law, and it allows municipalities to establish a civil service register, so to speak, it's called. And so the team we have at Leominster PD, We put in a lot of hard work, and we established an MOU for our local register, and Civil Service approved it 2 weeks ago. And so now we are one of, if I had to estimate, it was a dozen cities in the Commonwealth who can officially begin to hire off a local register. So for example, someone who might have missed the Civil Service, the test, but they still want to be a police officer, well, they don't want to have to wait a year, they can still apply to be on the register. So we just have to hire 50% register and 50% from the Civil Service list. So it's intriguing for the department.
Okay, so it expands the pool of people that you can
Exactly.
hire from.
Yeah.
Do you, not you specifically, but does the department, go to colleges or reach out to
Criminal
training
justice,
for-
job fairs, absolutely.
Oh, okay, good.
Yes.
All right,
Yep.
good,
I'm a big advocate of that.
great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm good.
All right, Counselor Arndinger.
Along the line with the utilities, the electric utilities, can you or have you looked into alternative suppliers?
I have not.
Because I know on the retail side, you can save a lot of money by going to some alternative suppliers, so.
I have not, but we're willing to explore all options.
Okay, just
We
to-
bid our electricity out, so we have 3 to 6 years that we bid the electricity
Okay.
for the whole city, and, they're part of it, so they couldn't bid separately.
Okay.
But we actually, just last year, bid our electricity, and we did a 4-year plan, so our rates are much better than, what is out there right now.
Great.
So even though they are still high, we have explored potentially, which, it's still costly and it'll probably be a project down the road, but putting solar on top of the police
Yeah,
station.
that-
It is solar ready.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, so I
Thanks,
mean, it's there, but it's still,
Yeah.
it will help. And it'll come in before the meter, so it will go directly to the department and then reduce the bill.
Right, good.
Yeah.
Okay, that was my next question, solar.
Yeah, thank you.
It wouldn't be enough. It wouldn't be enough. It would reduce their own bill, but it wouldn't be enough to power like other things within the, so.
Jen, I just had a quick question, kind of on that line, because I'm new to the council. Is there a way, so is every single building that works like through the city, they all get their own separate bills, so there's no like?
Most, yes. Yep.
Okay. I just wasn't sure if there existed something in the state where, if they were all billed simultaneously or some sort of.
No, they're all separate because they still are all meter read.
Right.
But they all go through the contract that we actually want to put out for 6 years. They're wonderful, and they keep all of our accounts in a, kind of a portfolio for us so we can see the activity that each one has had, the credits that they have received, from our solar generations. But no, each individual place still gets their own bill.
Okay, thanks.
Council Noseworthy.
Oh, thank you. Chief, not a question really. I just want to thank you and all of your officers for everything that you do. Prior to becoming a counselor, I did a lot around advocacy around disability, mental health, and looking at the, keeping our community safe and keeping our officers safe. And was recently at an event that Officer Centrone was at, a denim event.
He does a great job.
Yeah, with
for that
your other
community outreach.
staff.
Yes.
And so it was just really nice to see Leominster represented. It was, I think it was an event in Worcester. So again, thank you so much, and
It's
your
nice to hear that.
officers for everything you do.
I'm not surprised. He's fantastic.
Yeah, he was really great.
The entire outreach team is excellent.
Yes, thank you.
Anybody else? Counselor Frida, and then I'll go to Councilor Bonanza.
I think Council President was before me, so that's it all.
I'll yield to you.
Chief, do you feel that your guys are overworked? I know we have less numbers, and not to put you on the spot, but that's been an ongoing problem for years, that, our community grows, and crime, unfortunately, has grown in all communities.
Yeah,
Whether it's drug use or something else, but have you been in a position very often to have to force overtime?
Yes, that happens frequently.
You
What I
have?
can say is the job's not the same as it used to be. Now the police officers have to wear, you start the job, you might have to wear 4 or 5 different hats, but now it's 30. So the job's not the same because you're forced to do so much with the interactions nowadays, especially dealing with mental health calls for service. And so there are significant times where the officers are extremely busy. And since the staffing levels haven't been maxed out to what they budgeted for in so many years, what I'd like to do is once we are fully staffed, hopefully that happens soon, we'll look at the data, we'll look at the calls for service, and we'll see how we are for the staffing levels. But there are, especially on the weekends, that's historically when people take time off, they have family, they want to see their families, etc. It's completely understandable. And those are the times when it's the most busy. And so when the staffing's at minimum, that's always when we have to call for mutual aid from surrounding cities and towns. And that's just how it is by design, unfortunately. So.
I know we're fortunate enough now to at least have the 2 captains, which
Very
was a
lucky.
really sore spot for a long time, not to have those captains.
I'm grateful
in
to
play.
have that, yeah.
And, but I think the concern is does it become a public safety issue if you have to force overtime? What conditions are you dealing with? They're overworked, they're overtired, and that's when accidents happen. That's where mistakes are made. Are you overly concerned about that? I mean, it's the chief. It's kind of a difficult spot for you to be in.
Yeah, that comes in waves. What's concerning is when an officer, for example, he comes to work because he doesn't want to have someone else be forced, even though he's maybe on the verge of calling out sick, he's not feeling well. So he works his 8-hour shift, and then he finds out at hour 7 that he's going to be forced onto the midnight shift when he was already sick before he even came to work. So the officers can work. The double shift would be 16 hours in a row, and they can pick up the overtime, whether it's forced, whether it's voluntary. However, yes, the officer wellness is always a concern of mine. Definitely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Council President?
Chief, we haven't heard about police reform in a long time, and I know we were pretty proactive in addressing it. Is there anything that we owe? What's our status with that at this juncture?
There's nothing new that we have to do that we haven't been doing the last couple of years. What we focus on the most is de-escalation. And we have to remember, too, when the officers, when they're dispatched someplace, you're going into someone else's home when it's most likely one of the lowest times in their lives, and you have to be open-minded. And you have to de-escalate, you have to do the right thing, and I really feel like the officers do a great job at it.
Well, I want to thank you personally because I know you're a great example of that and
Thank you.
a good model for the department. Thank you for all you do and your men.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else have any questions for the police chief? If not, thank you very much, Chief Malatis. Thank you for all you do. And if there's ever any support we can give, you know where we are.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
We appreciate it. Hopefully
right.
there'll be no more floods to drive us out of here, so we'll stay here for a
Let's
while.
hope not. The rain is coming, so hopefully.
Thank you all. And so just pulling this back to finance, this concludes this evening. And if I can have a motion to adjourn. Councilor Cormier, Councilor Tossi, all those in favor? All right, so this portion of the meeting tonight is also adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Jen, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Jen. Thank you for being here and for all your support and help.
The Leominster City Council meeting is funded in part by DeCarolis Insurance Agency at www.decarolisinsuranceagency.com and by Avidia Bank at www.avidiabank.com.